Hello everyone! On behalf of Rainbow Loom, this is Angelyn, formerly known as Tutorials by A here on YouTube, and today I'm here to show you how to create the Clover bracelet. I'm going to be using Rainbow Loom's Bracelet Boutique Kit. This is one of my favorite kits, not only because it has all of these gorgeous pastel bands, but also because it comes with two looms. And with these two looms, I made this continuous Clover bracelet to where I didn't need an extender. But today, I'll be showing you how to make this on one loom in case you have one. For the border of this bracelet, I used a total of 26 rubber bands. They are these white bands here, and on this other bracelet here I used clear so that way the clovers would really stand out. In addition to the 26 rubber bands on the border, I used an additional 13 for the single chain here as the extender. You may need more or less rubber bands depending on your own wrist size. And lastly, you'll need 24 rubber bands for the 6 clovers that are here on our bracelet. Of course, you'll need a hook and some sort of closure. I have G clips in here, but I also have C clips on hand. You can use whichever closure that you have. So I've counted out the rubber bands I'm going to use. Before we start placing them, I'm going to look at the bottom of my loom for this arrow here and make sure that it has a number 1. The first bands we're going to place are the border colored rubber bands. So on this bracelet here, it's the white. I'm going to take a single band and just drop it onto this bottom center pin here, like so, and you're just going to leave it there. That is going to help us close our bracelet up later. Next, I'm taking another one of the same color rubber band, and I'm going to extend it from this bottom center pin up to this next pin diagonal to the left. Repeating the same process on the right side, bottom, up to the top right. Next, we're going to make kind of a kite shape, or an upside down kite, I should say. So we're going to start with this left pin that we had just placed a rubber band on. And I'm going to extend this rubber band from this pin, not to this diagonal pin here, but up one more, so we have kind of an exaggerated diagonal band here. So you should have something like this, and we're going to do the same thing to the opposite side, from the bottom right up to this top center pin. So you should have one pin in the center that has nothing on it, and your loom should look like this. We're going to make these little kite shapes all the way down our loom, so I'm going to start again at this pin now, and I'm going to make this diagonal bottom shape, pushing my bands down as I go to make room, like this. Next are these long diagonal bands, so I'm going to extend from here up to here. Make sure you're skipping this pin right here and going to the next one. So we have one pin in the center that has nothing on it, and same thing on the opposite side. I'm going to continue this, so we should have 6 kites at the end. Up to this pin. So your loom should now look like this. Again, we have a total of 6 kites going down our loom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we're going to place our clover bands down, which are the colorful bands in this bracelet. I'm going to start at the bottom of my loom. I'm going to take my first color, place a rubber band going vertically, then I'm going to place a rubber band going from this bottom left to the center pin. Then I'm going to place a rubber band going from the bottom right to the center pin. And lastly, one going from the center pin up. So your loom should look like this, and we're going to continue doing this on each and every one of these kite shapes down our loom. We're going to take our next band, go vertically from this bottom pin of this kite shape up to the center, and all of these bands for this clover are going to connect to the center pin that we had originally left empty. So there's no border bands on this pin, but we're going to connect all of these clover bands onto here. Then our last one goes vertically here, pushing things down, and then we're going to go to our next one. Going up, going to the left, and the right side, then going up. So here we go again for our next kite, and going vertically up, then from the left to the center pin and the right to the center pin, and lastly from the center pin up to the top of this kite shape. Now for our last kite shape. Now we're going to need an additional one of each color of clover that we put on these pins, and we're just going to make a cap band. So I'm going to use this band that's the same color as the clover in this bottom set of pins. Taking this band, I'm going to wrap once, twice, and 3 times around. So you'll have a band looped around 3 times for a total of 3 layers that you just added to this pin. I'm going to go on to this next one and add a cap band that is 3 times wrapped around. So 1, twist, 2, twist, and 3. Now for the next cap band, I'm going to place this on the center pin of this kite, the one that all of these bands are going into, and I am going to wrap this once, twist, twice around, twist, and 1/3 time. So we have a total of 3. For the last one, wrapping once, twice, and here we go, 3rd time. And the very last thing that we're going to do is add 1 cap band of the border color onto this top pin. So I'm going to stretch this out to one side though, just to make it easier to hook later. So I'm going to extend it out to this pin. I have 1 rubber band here, and I'm going to twist it and double it over onto itself. So now I have 1 band that twisted onto itself to make 2 layers. And now here is what my loom looks like. And we are now going to rotate this 180 degrees to start the hooking process. Down at the bottom, I have a number 2 here, which indicates that my loom is in the proper orientation to do the hooking process. And you can also tell because my pins are in a upside down U shape. So the first things that we're going to hook are the clovers, and we're just going to do the clovers for now. So to do the clovers, I'm going to start at this bottom kite here. The center pin is what we're going to be pulling the bands out of. So here at this middle pin of this kite at the very bottom, remember we added a cap band on and wrapped it around 3 times, so these top 3 layers are of the cap band. The band I'm going to grab is this band that is running vertically here. So I'm going to reach in here inside of this cap band and kind of scoop my hook around to grab this band here. And this is the 4th layer rubber band, so it's the topmost one after the cap band, and I'm going to hook this downwards like this. The next one we're going to hook is this one to the left, so I'm going to reach inside my cap band. The top 3 layers are the cap band, and I'm going to grab the next layer, which is the 4th layer, and it is this rubber band going to the left here. Now we're going to grab this one on the right. So I'm reaching inside of this cap band, grabbing this layer right here, and pulling it onto this top right pin. For the last band, I'm just going to reach inside the cap band and grab the last band that's left, and hook this vertically up to this pin. And now we finished hooking one of the clovers. So we're going to continue doing this throughout the rest of our loom for all of the clovers. We have 5 of them left. Reaching inside these 3 layers right here are the cap band. And I'm grabbing the next one, which is, remember, the bottom band. Pulling this off and hooking it onto this bottom pin. Then I'm going to do the one that goes to the left. Be gentle so that way you don't break any of your rubber bands. And the right side. And then go up. Like that. So I'm going to continue doing the rest of these clovers. Remember to grab this one going down as your first band of each clover. And there we have completed all of the clovers on our loom, and your loom should look like this. Now we're going to hook the border bands, which are these white bands on this bracelet, and for me they'll be these pastel yellow jelly bands. So just to make it clear on which band we're grabbing, we are going to be grabbing this one right here first, and then this one after. So this one is first, and then this one after. So reaching inside of this pin, you're going to reach inside through all of these bands, use the back of your hook to push these out of the way, grab the second to the last band, hook it upwards, and then we're going to go back and do this one, which is now the bottom band, and hook that up to the right. So now we're going to do this rubber band first, and then this one second. So hooking the left, I'm going to reach inside all of these layers and grab the bottom band. Make sure that you're not reaching in from out here and grabbing. You want to go inside of all of these bands and then grab, and then pull this off very gently and hook it onto this pin above. Next, the right side, gently and up. So we're going to continue this process throughout our loom. That is one kite that's been hooked now, and we're going to repeat this 5 more times for the 5 remaining kite shapes. So I'm going down inside all of these layers and grabbing the second to the last bottom band, which is this band here. Might need a little bit of a side view to make sure that I'm pulling the correct band. Gently pulling up to this pin. Then I'm going inside this pin, grabbing this bottom band, and hooking up to this pin. Sometimes you might have a lot of tension on your bands, and you can see this one kind of got caught over here. You can just gently pull it, so that way you release some of the tension. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the right. As you can see, it's getting caught there as well. You can also run your hook here, so that way it doesn't get caught there. Reaching inside, using the back of my hook to push the other rubber bands out of the way so I can grab the second to the last band here. There we go. And then up onto this pin up here. Same thing for this side, reaching in, grabbing and pulling up to this pin. Now we're going to hook the 2 shorter diagonal bands. And if your band gets caught like that, you can leave it and it doesn't really make a difference. I just like to release the tension. And for our last kite, you're going to hook it just as we've done for all of the other kites. So now we're finished hooking all of these clovers and the kites. At this point, I'm going to remove part of my bracelet from the loom using my hook. These bands on the side here have a lot of tension on them, so I highly recommend using your hook to help remove these. That way you make sure that you don't end up breaking any of your rubber bands from ripping this off of the loom. Remove these very carefully, and I'm going to stop when I start reaching the end. Because on this very top pin, I'm going to leave the bands there just so that way I can close this up a little bit easier. So with this loose rubber band that we left on this top pin, I'm going to reach inside of this top pin with my hook, and I'm going to grab that band at the bottom. So I've grabbed it, I'm going to pull it up out of this pin, and I'm going to attach the end that I'm holding with my left hand onto the hook. So that way we have a little link here that looks like this. And this rubber band is now holding all of the bands that are on this top pin. So I have this slid up here so it's a little bit more secure now. And we can remove the rest of this from the loom. Just make sure you leave this on your hook so your bracelet doesn't unravel. I'm gonna give it a couple stretches. Sometimes your bands might get out of order or a little bit wonky looking, so in my opinion, the cleanup of our projects is also just as important as making the projects properly. So I'm gonna stretch this a little bit, even out the bands. So I'm pulling the ones that stick out to the left and right a little bit, just to have this fun little frilly effect. There we go, how cute. So now I'm gonna add the extension, because of course this is not large enough to fit around my wrist. For my extension, I'm going to use about 13 rubber bands. So I'm gonna orient my loom so that way I have the arrow pointing up with the number 1. And then I'm gonna place my bands down. I'm using the same color as my border, but you can make this multicolored or whatever color that you would like. I'm just gonna place this in a single chain. So in a zigzag from the bottom pin to the top right, going backwards to the left and then the right again, and then continuing this down my loom. And here is my 13th rubber band. Now I'm going to rotate my loom 180 degrees to start the hooking process. My arrow down here says the number 2, and my pins are now oriented in an upside down U shape. Now with the bracelet that I have attached to my hook, I'm going to transfer it. To do this, we want to add these 2 layers of rubber bands here onto this bottom pin, or whatever your bottom pin is of this single chain that we just applied to our loom. So to do this, I'm going to put a little bit of tension on here, insert my index finger into the loops that the hook is holding, so the same loops, and stretch these loops onto the pin here. So I've now transferred my bracelet onto the loom, and then we're going to start doing the single chain all the way down. So I'm going to use the back of my hook and push the top 2 loops out of the way. These 2 layers are from this bracelet. And hook this bottom band up to the next pin. Inserting inside, pushing these back and grabbing. And there we go. With my C-clip here, I'm going to attach this to the very top pin, the rubber bands that are on here. So I'm going to scoop these 2 layers up, make sure that you really catch them in that C-clip. I'm going to pull and make sure that those 2 layers are all on the C-clip, and then it's safe to remove. If you have any twisted bands like I do here, I'm just going to give it a little tug, try to straighten them out so the bracelet looks pretty. And then I'm going to connect this end, this cap band here. So here it's my border color, a little loop here. And there we go. This is our finished clover bracelet. Thank you all so much for watching this tutorial on how to make the clover bracelet. I love this bracelet. I really like the effect with this clear rubber band border. I just think that the clovers really stand out and it looks really cute. And of course I also really love this pastel version that I just made with my bracelet boutique kit. If you're not already following Rainbow Loom on all of their social media sites, please check them out in the description box below. All of the supplies that I used in this video can be found at rainbowloom.com and at select retailers. Again, thanks so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you in Rainbow Loom's next tutorial. Bye!